Thank you. Don't forget to speak into the speaker, this microphone here.
Yes, sir.
We'll record.
It's hard to hear when it's back here.
Ready?
Yep.
The meeting tonight is for the conduct of town business by the town board. The public is invited to participate at the items marked on the agenda, public comment. During that segment of the meeting, if you have a question or comment for the supervisor, please raise your hand and wait to be acknowledged. Please state your full name and limit your remarks to 3 minutes. Thank you for your anticipated cooperation.
Thank you, Danielle. I'd like to start the meeting off with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. A moment of silence, please, for all our brave men and women fighting all over the world for democracy and freedom, for our local first responders. Thank you. Okay, so I'd like to amend the agenda to add tires at the landfill and also IT work that has to be done down here with our modem and stuff for our internet. So I make that motion. I need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so moved. So I need a motion. I'll make the motion to approve the agenda as amended. So I need a second.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Thank you, gentlemen. Motion to approve the minutes from September the 13th, 2021 Town Board meeting.
I make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. Authorize payment of bills in the amount of $139,212.13. I make that motion. Need a second.
Sorry, that's a second? I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Any presentations tonight? No presentations? Okay. Any comments on the agenda? Okay. New business. As you know, October 11th, meeting date is Columbus Day. We'd like to move it to, is it on the 10th? That's Columbus Day, or the 11th?
11th.
So we'd like to move it to the 12th on a Tuesday. I need a motion to approve that.
So moved. Go ahead. Move. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None being said. So moved. I need a motion to accept the tentative 2022 budget.
I make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None being said. Motion carried. There's a resolution on the docket to address that. Workshop topics, COVID-19. Unfortunately, we have one added death. We have 8 now. We have 22 active cases in the town of Marlborough. All I could say is people be careful and get vaccinated. Would the board like to say anything about that, or?
The numbers are trending in the right direction, right?
Yeah.
It was in the 40s.
Thank you. Sands Avenue Park report. We did have Spectra come out, did a survey. We don't know exactly when they'll come back with the survey. But if it's all right with the board, I have a discussion with John Alonji and Dave Pulliam. We'd like to put in
the conduit, so this way we don't, across the road, so this way we don't hold up the paving of the road as per the quotes that came in.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear it. We were
Sorry, we hit the fire,
we
we
hit
hit
the
the police buzzer, so.
just like the ball game last night.
Did that about a year ago.
I keep doing it because it's right by my leg.
Could you repeat that, please?
Yes, I'll repeat that. So we did meet up with a Spectrum representative and to survey not only Cluett Chance Memorial Park, but also Sands Avenue Park. So at the Sands Avenue Park, he said that we would have to put conduit all the way from the telephone pole to where we would have our Wi-Fi for our cameras and such. That being said, I haven't gotten a report from them about the survey, when they're going to do it or when. So I had a discussion, I think it was at Community Day, with Dave Pullian and John Alongi, saying that we should just put the conduit in so this way we don't hold up the paving. So if gentlemen are okay with that, we'll put in the 2-inch conduit, which is required by Spectrum. And then we'll see what they say, because definitely we want the wire for free, but they won't give us the wire for free until we put the conduit in, because they're going to pull the wire. So we just want to make sure that we get it from the telephone pole across from the road where we're paving into the Sands Avenue Park.
I would just suggest, I'm going to suggest to do it, but I would suggest using a larger conduit just in case we want to put anything else through there.
Go ahead, Chief.
Part of the problem with that is certain things can't be run along other items. So if we used a 4-inch conduit and they're not allowed to run across with cable, then we wasted that conduit. Maybe it's a better idea to run 2 separate conduits in the same, well, since you're digging it up again, run an additional conduit. I don't know that it has to be 2-inch either. For whatever reason, they're requiring 2-inch to run their 3/4-inch cable through, but that's what they want.
We have a 2-inch line in the ground already with the electric,
Right.
okay? You can't run this line.
can't run
Right.
electric
No, you
and
can't,
that together,
no,
you can't run
it
water electric.
But a
interferes.
2-inch line, you could run other wire. If, say, that one fails, there's enough space to run another. It's expensive right now to run this conduit, so
Yeah,
I know
certainly.
what you're saying.
If
but
we ran a
it's gonna-
1-inch,
it's
if
gonna
we ran a
cost a lot.
1-inch conduit or a 3/4-inch conduit alongside the 2-inch conduit, which I think Alan's getting at, would be much cheaper than running that 2-inch conduit. So it's smarter now, since you're digging up the ground, to run an additional conduit for future use that you don't have planned right now, rather than digging the pavement up next year when you decide, oh, we have to have something else.
I would say we could put it across the road, an extra thing, but I wouldn't go all the way.
Good idea. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, just put it across the pavement, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because we could always dig dirt
Yeah.
and grass.
But I think they said it's $80 a foot right now.
For
Yeah.
a 2-inch conduit, but running it the 10 feet across the road, the 2 pieces,
Yeah.
most economical while it's dug up now, and then you can always, from that, connect,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
That's
connect
smart.
It's like
Yeah.
$1,400 to go to that, right?
Good suggestion, so that's what we'll do. Thank you very much, Councilman Koenig. We'll just run that across, so this way we don't have to disturb the paving that we're going to do at Sands Avenue Park. So I have could I have a motion on that so we could get this going?
What are we call? What's this called?
We're talking about basically a 2-inch conduit for the Spectrum cable. And Councilman Koenig made a suggestion, maybe we want to put a 3/4 or 1-inch alongside of it to go across the road. In the, if something happens in the future where we want to run another inch or something down there. I don't know what we would run, but it could be a good idea to do that.
And who's doing this, and how much is it going to cost?
So Dave Pullian is going to put in the 2-inch line, and now probably the 1-inch line, to run the whole thing to the whole for the whole conduit. I think I forget how many feet it is. I think it was like
400 feet, it's about $1,400 in material, right?
right, $1,400 in material. But it would behoove us not to wait to see what Spectrum says.
No, I would
Well, we gotta get it blacktop, so that,
Yeah,
we're
that's the
holding up
whole thing.
blacktop.
So I need a motion to put the boat conduits across the pavement, so this way don't disturb the pavement in the future.
No motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I'll give Dave a call, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Get it done.
Still no movement on the Cluett Chance Park upper ball field, lights and pole. Like I said last time, the poles are fine. It's the LED lights that we're looking at, that I'm looking at, and they're very expensive. They're around $80,000. So I have my wish list then to Senator Skoufis and Assemblyman Jacobs.
You know, I just noticed when I came out of the road, they're not on that, they're not there anymore. You know where they moved them?
Move what?
The poles that we had stored off of 9W.
They're not down at the field?
Nope, they've been stored off of 9W, like right across from Old Indian Road. Remember where the building burnt down?
No, they're actually in
Then
the
they
soccer field.
They moved them now because they were there.
Yeah, but they're up
Good.
there.
That's
They're
why
there.
I was just like, oh
I
my
took
God.
pictures of them.
They're all gone. I'm like, oh God almighty.
No, they're there.
Took 'em.
So, that's a good thing. So Milton Landing South Pier, I think that's what Brandy's here to give an update on that.
Yeah, can I?
You want to set it up there, Councilman Baker?
Yeah, Brandy, if you could unmute yourself, but I just want to preface her comments. Brandy, can you hear us?
I can.
Okay. I just want to preface your comments. You're going to give us an update, but just to remind everybody regarding this, the Milton Pier, of course, it's completed, but the issue was that the fender piles were not installed because we had to save money, basically. So that's a thing we know we have to do. So, and the fender piles absorb the energy from boats, bigger boats that would dock there and would save the pier and the floating dock and so forth. So we need to do them if we're going to have bigger boats come in there. About a month ago, B.J. Mickelson, who was a member of Meet Me in Marlborough, arranged visits by two companies. One is Sea Streak, which does a tour boat on the weekends that already comes up to Cold Spring, and they were thinking they might want to come up further to Milton. And the other company is American Cruise Lines, which does cruises up, fall foliage cruises up the Hudson River. One is, the two different types of clientele, you might say. BJ spent a day with Sea Streak, took them all around the town of Marlborough and showed them all the venues we have. They were very impressed. He did the same thing with American Cruise Line about a week later. Both of them were very interested in trying to use our Milton Pier for docking purposes so they could offload people. People could go to see our pick-your-owns and wineries and so forth. From that ensued some discussions about or proposals for these fender piles solutions. One from Sea Streak, which is Brandy's going to give us an update on, and the other one from American Cruise Line, which was not a pile proposal. They were proposing some big fenders called Yokohama somethings or others. Anyway, that's where we are. We've had a lot of discussions back and forth between these two companies and Brandy and ourselves. They are sort of offering to take care of the installation costs for some of these proposals, but we wanted to make sure that Brandy and her team reviewed the proposal before we really got into this very far. So that's why we asked Brandy to come here tonight and give us an update. So that's where we are. So Brandy.
Good evening, gentlemen. Would it be helpful if I shared any plans on your screen?
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
Is it possible for me to share screen now?
Yep, I just allowed you to. Hopefully it'll work.
Sure. Okay. So I will, I'm trying to talk quietly, so let me know if the volume is too much.
Well, I can turn it down, but it's fine so far. Is it? It's okay.
Okay, great. Let me share screen then.
Works a heck of a lot better than it used to. I don't know why. Did you fix something?
Do Wi-Fi.
It's always the good news, right? So what I wanted to share with you, just by way of context and to sort of dovetail into what
Brandy, can you put your video back on so we can see your face? Thank you.
Yeah,
It's better. That's a little better.
I like Brandy's suggestion. I think I brought it up at the last meeting, is I think we should maybe wait and pick the right piles, you know what I mean, the right system to do this, instead of rushing into it. Because, I mean, we start, you know, investing money in here, and then next thing you know, hey, it didn't work. And second of all, Brandy, I got a question. Didn't we just have more samples done down there?
That was gonna be my question.
No, unfortunately, there were no core samples done. What ended up happening back last summer was that we had priced out some boring, and at the time it was going to be over $40,000, and it was going to take them 6 to 8 weeks to get down there. So what we opted to do instead was to structure into the contract some flexibility around the length of pile and require that the contractor test for bottom with his spuds to figure out depth to rock, and then also pull several piles so that we could determine the depth of embedment. So ultimately, that's what Arvin did. They pulled 8 piles and then looked at depth of embedment, and from there we then ordered the pile lengths. That's how we got to the 9-foot piles for the pier.
So couldn't we use that again, though, that same information?
The difference is that structurally, the pier system works together. You've got all those
Yeah, that
piles
makes
that
sense.
are together with the frame. The monopiles are a single point, and I was trying to come up with like a good image I could sort of show you guys.
Yeah.
Consider this is your pile, right? If you're only in the mud a tiny bit and you're applying force up here, it tips over very easily. So we want to have, you know, pretty deep embedment so that there's more strength to withstand
Yeah,
that force.
less mechanical advantage.
And Randy from Madeline Marine, he said that he thinks that it would rock somewhere 40 to 45 feet, but we don't know for sure. And we're just concerned that there's enough variability in the bottom there that it would make sense in the long run to have the boring data exactly where the monopiles would go.
Okay, that makes sense.
But Brandy, if we went with the original proposal for the fender piles, the 2 sets of 3 each, which are affixed to the pier in some fashion, the borings would not be required
Borings would not be required.
because they're affixed to the pier.
Yeah,
Right.
So the whole
Okay.
bumper system
Yeah,
works
I-
together. And
But
I
could
don't-
could the original design accommodate the boats that wanna dock there now?
yeah.
Yeah, that's the issue. So we very preliminarily, because we've not done any calculations, but very preliminarily, we think that that's over-designed for the boats that want to dock now. They're somewhat smaller. The SS Columbia is fairly tall, and these are a little bit more low profile. And so the forces that we're calculating are generally the force of the velocity of the boat berthing, plus any forces that are attributed to wind or wave energy. And wind energy in particular is a function of the height of the vessel.
So yes or no, they won't be able to dock there? I didn't get,
We think it might be over-designed for the vessels that want to dock there now. That's why we
But
think
it-
it makes sense.
well, I mean,
to
it's
step
over
back.
designed, but could they dock there with that design?
They have each received copies of the current plans showing the piles. Part of what they need to evaluate is whether their gangways are long enough because of that pile system. Yeah. So to be determined. I'm sorry, I'm not as clear on that.
No,
as
yeah.
this.
I mean, because we're looking at the cost of doing boring again, and then your cost, and then we'd actually have to have the pilings put in. We're probably going to be more than what the original design came in.
Yeah, we took $100,000.
We took
off.
$100,000 out, and you're showing us already $68,000 in costs before they even put the pilings in. So
Right.
that's why I think Howard asked, and probably I'm asking the same question, is if we went back to the original design and we didn't have to do those borings, I guess, again, would it accommodate who wants to go there without having to do all this extra research?
So that's a question that I can put to C Street and to American and see if they can work around the original fender system design.
Yeah, I mean, something that we don't have to do the boring again, and you don't have to extend $20,000 worth of more research. figuring out what we can and can't put there. You know, that's what I'm asking, I guess.
Yeah, no, I understand.
So at that point, you have to find out from these bigger ships that are inquiring about putting in the fenders, right? To see with our existing design that we took out because of budgetary reasons, if they could actually use that fender system, the new system, or the old system that's designed, if they would actually be able to dock at our pier. So that's the confirmation that we need. I agree with the board that, especially Alan, I just don't want to rush into this. I think we had a robust system, but because of budgetary reasons, we took it out. And now I agree with Councilman Corcoran that the money that we would spend to put the pilings in that we really are not too comfortable with, I would really like to go back to the old system, the design system, and just do it that way, if it accommodates those boats that we're talking about.
Did you get all that?
I can certainly make an inquiry to both the vessel, the shipping companies.
Brandy, did you have a chance at all to, I know you spoke to Eric from American Cruise Lines today, and the Yokohama fenders, do you not even consider those as a possible solution?
He and I discussed them, so just so you guys understand, the Yokohama fenders are a temporary solution that's used a lot of times when two vessels are out in the water and they need to berth together. They basically look like giant tubes of, giant foam-filled tubes, 8, 10 feet, 12 feet in diameter. Some of them have tires affixed. So Yokohama's a tire manufacturer. Who uses the tires? Any of them.
Right.
And he said potentially you could do those, but the issue is still the same. We want to verify that those fenders are absorbing enough energy to not damage the pier.
Right. Was he proposing to do a trial run with those fenders, with his boat?
He was not. He actually said he still needed to have one of his captains come up and take a look because the way their ship is configured, they disembark from the midpoint of the ship, and he wanted to make sure he could position himself adequately and make sure his gangway length was long enough to disembark at one of the locations where the removable railing is located.
And did you also discuss with him, I know you and I talked about this a little bit before, they also provide management services. Did he go into any depth with that about managing a?
Not extensive depth. He did ask, if the town was going to undertake any kind of management program. He mentioned that they operate a number of facilities on a contract basis around the country. They usually negotiate terms consistent with a long-term lease to use the facility, and then they can help with establishing pricing structure, managing who's coming in and out, so the scheduling, and keep an eye on issues of maintenance.
Okay.
So I think that's a good opportunity. I know we're working upriver in Kingston. City of Kingston does have a contract operator for their marina. It's a little bit of a different animal than the pier, but if you're going to have ships coming in and out, you're certainly going to want to have a structure for management.
It's not this company. It's
Generating some revenues. He also talked about, I think both he and C Street could talk about some form of cost sharing. They do seem very interested in Milton Landing. They don't have many options on the Hudson River. They're going from Cold Spring up to Kingston, and then on up to Albany and Troy.
yeah.
And they like this sort of midpoint. I guess it makes a really nice day cruise. It's up from the city, they think. So
Yeah.
they seem pretty eager. And I think their eagerness is great, but I think we want to slow down and think through what's the right decision for the town.
Yeah, I've been kind of bringing up at the meetings, we need to come up with how we're going to want this managed, how we're going to want to see it. Again, we have to go back to what our port fees are going to be, which is very important. And then I've been looking into some of this. Some of these companies will say like, well, we want a 6-week lease on it, and they don't want anybody else on the pier.
Yeah, right.
So, like I said at the meeting, we built this with the idea for ships coming, but we ultimately built this for the people of the town of Marlborough. You know what I mean? And the sugar on top was gonna be these cruise lines coming in, and the Columbia, and we have the ship down there now picking up produce from our local farms. So that's what we wanted, the people and then the boats. And, you know, when I heard stories like that, like some of these companies, they don't want anybody on their pier for a term of 6 weeks.
Right.
And I also don't want to live in the boat there for 6 weeks.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, we wouldn't want that.
In their downtime. So we need, as a group, to start coming up with ideas and coming up with policy, just like we do with the you know,
Train
with the
station.
train
or-
station, you know, up at the town park when you rent out the pavilion. You know, this is going to have to be on its own. It's, you know, it's going to have to be a whole other policy, which is doable. And again, we really need to look at port fees to keep up with, you know, it sits in the water, so it's going to require maintenance, not a lot, I hope, but it will. And we're going to have to take that floating dock out every year and store it somewhere.
Yep.
You're going to give us an update on that?
I'm not, the gentleman is not ready
Okay,
to say, but it's positive.
okay. We don't want to let the cat out of the bag yet.
Well, I didn't do it. The gentleman,
I got you.
the gentleman did
I
it.
got
want
you.
him to, I don't want to steal his thunder, but it's
No.
all good stuff.
It's fine, it's fine.
So I mean, that's what we really need to look at. And again, it's exciting. We're still in the honeymoon phase. Let's just
Yeah.
take a winter, you know. And hey, let's go look for some funding too.
Yeah.
You know.
So, just so everybody knows about the South Pier and the funding of the South Pier, we allocated, with Titan Bond, we got when we went out for the RFP and Arden won, I think it was 1.5 something. And the town board approved a 1.2 bond, anticipating getting $313,000 from a CFA grant, which would lead us up to the amount we needed. In hindsight, maybe we should have bumped that bond or band up a little bit, but we didn't. So what happened was when we were starting to, we awarded Arden the contract, and then we found out the wooden piers were no longer any good. So basically what we had to do is a redesign and go to steel piers. Now what happened, that added close to $175,000, $200,000 to the budget, which at the time the board didn't really want to take on. So we eliminated the bumper system that we're all talking about, which was $100,000. But we took $75,000 from the fund balance, board approval, and added it to the number that we needed to get the steel piers in, pilings. So that's basically where we end up. And I agree with Alan. I mean, basically, I don't know if anybody here really knows about piers and the cost of boat stocking, so we really have to find somebody that really is knowledgeable and then go from there, because I think basically to protect the town, we definitely would need a lawyer to chime in with all the contracts and stuff for these boats so that we're not liable, and that's going to take time.
Maybe a good resource would be to contact Kingston's, right? They have a dock master, you said, Brandy? A dock manager?
Yes, yeah. They have a company.
Yeah, in the meantime, we could...
They have a company that
yeah,
manages it.
absolutely.
Kingston does?
Kingston does, yes. I cannot think of their name. I also talked to Matt in the Marine. He had a couple of names he said he could get us as well for pier management and maintenance.
Right.
That would be great if you could forward those, and then we can do the research, obviously.
Yeah, and maybe we could have them at a planning board meeting, a town board meeting to discuss.
I think we need a professional service
Yeah.
that does this for a living.
Right. I
Look,
agree.
we all love this project, we all want to see, but we have no idea how to
No.
manage a dock like this, right? And we don't want to destroy the dock, right?
Exactly.
So you need a professional service to come in here, manage this for us. We work out the contracts with them, how it's publicly used versus the commercial use end of it. And I think that's the road that I think
And they
we
could-
should start looking,
yeah.
going down. But again, I think it would be good if they could come and give us a presentation, it would be nice, so.
And
idea of these.
it would be,
So that we
also
should-
it would give us a budget number of what our payback's gonna be
Right,
on
right.
anything that we do.
How do the numbers work out,
Yeah.
you know?
So we need to, so who, a lot of work we just talked about, who's going to do that? Do we need a committee, form a committee, an advisory committee to do
I
this?
think, Howard, to be honest with you, I saw your email the other day.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see why it couldn't be 2 members of this board and the people on the Milton Landing Committee. I think that's
Yeah.
been the committee all along. I
Yeah,
don't see adding any
I
more
agree.
people to
Yeah, I
the
mean,
committee.
exactly.
Or even adding another committee. I think we have a wealth of knowledge down there and motivation.
So who would the 2 members of the board be?
I don't think that you even have to select 2 people from this board. I think it's an open meeting, so anybody could go.
Yeah,
And so-
if you don't put people's names and the responsibilities, then nobody's in charge.
Well,
Well,
then,
I
then
think-
the Milton Landing will take care of it.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
a
If
member
you
of the
go
landing-
to the Milton,
So the Milton Landing, we're handing this over to the Milton Landing Committee to do the evaluation of their recommendations on managing the pier
and
would be.
and a board member could go, so if a board member's free that night, they could go and find out exactly what's going on. I
Okay,
think it's-
I'm fine
it's-
with that, as long as
I just think
they
first,
understand.
before we get even to that, I think what Al said originally was, if we have this information that we can get from the Kingston people, have them come to the full board first, explain to us
Well, I'll go-
what they do.
Yeah, before
and
that, Scott, I'll go
and
drive
then-
up and meet them.
Then go from there. I think
Yeah.
that's the first meeting
Or,
to have.
Howard, you and I seem to have been doing
Yeah.
a lot on this,
Yep.
on the Milton Pier, so let's just stick with us and then the landing committee.
All righty.
Take it from there.
Get
So
it
what are we asking Brandy to do? Do you know what you're
Get
gonna
us
be?
the
Forward
contacts.
us the names.
Oh, wait a minute, are you,
mean,
yeah, that's part of it, but are you going to go back and do an evaluation and come up with a recommendation for one thing is management of the pier, the other thing is what are we gonna do in regards to the fender piles?
I can certainly ask C Street and American Cruise Lines if I give them a little bit more of the design information, if they're able to utilize the original vendor system. That would at least give you guys that answer.
Yeah, okay,
And then I can contact Kingston and Randy from Madeline Marine and get you a couple of names for service companies for management and operation here.
okay.
Outside of that, it sounded like you guys didn't want to do any kind of alternatives. It
Till
sounds like
spring.
you'd rather just see if the cruise ships can accommodate on the proposed vendor system.
Right, so
Right.
if the original fender system would work for the 2 cruise companies, then I think we're saying we want to try to figure out a way to get that work completed. Is that what you guys are saying?
Yeah,
Not right.
Yeah,
absolutely.
okay. Yep, all right.
You'd want us to, so it's going to be over your procurement limits. We can't sole source it unless we can think about if there's a way to modify the current contract with Carbon, if that's the way you wanted to handle it. But we would need to get a price for
Right. Well,
the addition.
first you have to find out.
I mean, we can figure that out.
First, you have to find out from the 2 companies whether the old proposed solution
Right.
would work for them. If it
First
does, then we have to figure out, okay, if we want to do it, how much is it going to cost, and then how the hell are we going to pay for it? It's like we always do. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is the management of it, and I guess we're going to look into that, Alan and I, and with the Milton Landing. One thing I'd like to do there is talk to the American Cruise Line guy, Eric. We have a kind of a relationship with him. He's a nice guy, it seems. So if they do this kind of thing, maybe I wouldn't be another good person to talk to, so.
Yeah, no, he seemed like very eager to talk to the town. I mean, it'd be great, maybe I can, Kingston puts their peer management out for RFP every couple of years, every 3 years, every 5 years, so just so that they're getting fresh pricing. So maybe I can get a copy of that.
Okay.
Yeah, so I would say, like Howard was saying, Councilman Baker, the first step is to see if these ships approve our system right now. And since they were willing to put in some money for their system, maybe we could further have a dialogue, maybe they could help us with our system.
Exactly. I agree.
Well, look, if they want a dock there, that's going to have to be the conversation.
Right, because what we have now doesn't work for them.
It's it's not like it's up for almost any discussion
Well,
here. They're gonna have to kick in or they don't dock there.
Or we'll recognize that. Let's worry about,
But I mean,
One
let's,
step at a time.
one step
that's
at
all
a
I'm
we can
saying.
recognize that through port fees.
Thank you.
Well, I think
Any
that's
other
a good
questions?
Thank you, Brandy.
thanks, Brandon.
Randy,
you
thanks
for
for
your
taking
time.
your
Appreciate
time.
it.
Appreciate it. Last minute like this.
That's Alan, Councilman Koenig. That was my initial thing. Take a
Yeah.
deep breath.
Yep.
Because these guys come in with all these great ideas. They're going to do everything for
Yeah.
free. But what's the bottom line?
Yeah,
Right.
there's no
Yeah.
free lunch.
Yeah.
right?
So thanks to Councilman Baker for all that work. Thank
I don't
you.
know who actually fixed this system, Jerry, if it's up to you. Did you fix this so it works? We weren't able to do this kind of thing before. Why,
Yeah.
what happened?
So in the
We
last
got the
meeting, the
internet.
Wi-Fi
We got the new Wi-Fi.
died.
Okay.
So we
Yeah.
replaced the Wi-Fi.
What even before
The
that?
speakers through the TV is a setting on your computer.
So we just got smart about our settings on the computer.
I remembered that we needed to switch that.
Thank you.
So
Because that worked pretty
not
well.
yet, not public
Because this
hearing.
isn't blinking out
With the
at all,
public, there's a section in here
that one setting,
on the agenda.
they could hear us, we could hear them.
It was very good.
Just, Al, you're not moving off the park, are you? I got one thing with the South Pier.
Sure.
I know we talked when we had our event, we had the train trap us all in there, and we saw people going under and over the train, stuff like that. So I said at the last meeting, it'd be good to put signs up, or Jerry mentioned, I don't know who mentioned it. You did. Oh, it was me, yeah. So I said I'd work on that, and I did. What I did was I plagiarized a lot of it, to be honest with you. But there's federal, like, railroad safety initiative type things. So I made up these signs. Jerry had them made, thank you, Jerry. But it's basically what to do, and all this here is what I took off the railroad. The only thing I did get a little creative on is I made like red, yellow, green, so it's like stop, listen, look, cross. So,
Very good, Alan.
and it's got the phone number on there, so we'll
You
get them
have
hung
two
up.
of them or one of them?
Two.
Two.
One on
okay.
each side, so we'll get those hung up. We'll meet up.
Yeah, that came out good.
Yeah, that came out good. Thank you, Alan, for doing that.
I just want to say also that
Jerry.
we had the bad experience at the crossing with the train blocking people. And I had the week before a personal experience, but I did call that number, got the dispatcher and Jerry's team. She did a great job, and within 10 minutes, well, your guys came down and the train was moved. So it does work sometimes.
Well, we would love to take credit for that, but it just happened to be the train moved.
Okay. Darn.
So he's
So-
honest.
Last week, we had an incident down at Dock Road in Marlborough where a patrol got stuck on the wrong side of the tracks with a train, and it parked there for a while.
One of your patrol cars.
It only ended up being like 11 minutes, but they did start that same process. So they seem to park wherever they want, regardless of what.
Well, if they park there, that's an emergency, something
Right.
shut them down.
So something we wouldn't have
There was an
known, but
emergency
yeah.
somewhere on that line.
Yeah, so it's not just to the Milton part either, I mean,
Yeah.
so.
I mean,
You
there-
normally don't see them stop there, you're right.
No, when you see them stop like that, there could be an incident in New Jersey.
Right.
You know what I mean? They gotta stop all traffic.
But somebody told me that they just noticed them stopping and they stopped before the crosswalk. So I don't know if any, like we were talking during the ceremony, there were some dignitaries that were stuck there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I know Assemblyman Jacobson was really upset about it, and he wrote a letter to CSX Corporation. And if you don't mind, I'd like to read it. Dangerous crossing situation at Milton Landing Park in Ulster County, New York. Dear Mr. Foote, F-O-O-T-E, on December 10th of this year, I was invited by the town of Marlborough Supervisor Al Lanzetta to attend a ribbon cutting at the Milton Landing Park in Ulster County. Approximately 80 town residents, elected officials, and other representatives had gathered for a celebratory event that concluded at dusk with all of us trapped at the park by a stopped CSX train. The newly completed Milton Landing Park occupies a small patch of land between the railroad tracks and the Hudson River. The event began with all of us gathered in the park at 5 p.m. At approximately 5:20 p.m., a southbound CSX train came to a stop. not only blocking the pedestrian crossing, but also completely cutting off all land access. We assumed that the train would only be stopped for a short while. Unfortunately, this was not the case. 2 northbound trains passed the park train, and the event ended shortly after 6 p.m. with the southbound train still stopped on the tracks. Town officials called the police department, which in turn called CSX emergency line. Police officials arrived to make sure that no one attempted to cross between train cars. Another northbound train passed the park, but it wasn't until well after 7 p.m. that the southbound train moved on and we were free. While this situation was annoying, it was not dangerous. Whatever might have happened, one of the event attendees had whatever might have happened had one of the event attendees had a medical emergency that required immediate transport to a hospital, no EMS crew could have been able to reach the park to administer aid. What if a group of children or a teenager are one day playing in the park when they become trapped by a train and decide to cross between train cars, only for the train to start moving before they reach safety? It is all too easy to imagine these or similar scenarios happening. That is why CSX must immediately investigate this dangerous situation and stop its practice of idling and blocking egress along Milton Landing Park. Thank you for your attention to this urgent matter, and that's Assemblyman Jacobson. And he copied Delgado and everybody else and all the executives in CSX, and they immediately got to his secretary, chief of staff, and started the wheels going. So maybe something will happen because, somebody actually saw them being, blocking the area to get out of the park, especially when the trains are parked there. And I really didn't know that it's a federal offense if you try to go underneath the train. And go there.
It's illegal to be on the railroad tracks.
Because somebody was trying that, and the police officer said, yeah.
Yeah, no, you can't, I think it's a federal offense to even be on the tracks.
Yeah, it's trespass.
It's trespass, federal.
They do it federally, yes.
Yeah. So it's,
Well, thank you for letting me read that. So hopefully we'll get some movement out of that. The Milton Train Station Park, we had a pre-construction meeting today. That went well, and they'll be starting on that park probably in a couple of weeks.
Great.
Chief, cameras for police in Cluett Chance Park, they're all installed now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that's the reason probably we'd like to see internet at Cluett Chance Park so we could remotely,
View them.
yeah.
That also includes the front door buzz system to this building.
works nice.
Yes.
Yep.
I got buzzed in the other day.
Can we remove that? Are we done pretty much there? We're done
buzz
with all
system?
that stuff, right? So
Oh, yes.
We could remove F?
Yes.
I need a motion to remove it.
Make a motion to remove letter F, cameras for police include Chance Park.
Need a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So move. Remove F. Marlborough Community Pride Day review. I was a little disappointed with the attendance, but overall I think everything went well. There was no hitches. People had a good time that wanted to be there. The fireworks were really good. I really enjoyed them. I don't know. Maybe the event was too long. Maybe I was told by others that when we had fireworks last time, we had a shorter span there, and there was a lot of people. So maybe that was the thing. I thought they were going to come back. I waited and waited, but they didn't come back. So
How many hamburgers did you cook?
750.
700 and something. So there was a lot of hamburgers.
There were 700 people there at least, or I only had one, I don't
And
know.
another 700 hot dogs, so.
Yeah.
I ate about 20 of them. No,
I think in the beginning, there was quite a few people, right?
Right. I think the event was a success.
a lot of
I am a
people
little
there.
disappointed about the
that night.
attendance. There has been some conversation, something to think about next year. Instead of maybe 1 to 7:30, maybe we push it to 3-ish, and then just cook right till the fireworks, and then we spend a little extra time afterwards cleaning up.
Yeah, I think it was pretty good all through the day, and then we were thinking that by nighttime, everybody was coming back. And not as many people came back at night for the fireworks, which we were surprised. But I'll tell you what, those fireworks were pretty awesome.
They were
I can
nice.
tell
Did a
you.
great job.
I still think we had 400 or 500 people, which makes it the biggest event that we've hosted so
yeah.
far in terms of the community day. But I think there could be some things to make it even better next year if we all decide that that's the route we want to go. Definitely, I believe, more advertisement if we expect more people. Also, a shorter time frame, closer to the fireworks, would probably keep people there.
Yeah.
The event is geared towards kids. They run around for 3, 4, 5 hours. It's time to go home. They're not going to stay there for the fireworks.
Right.
I got that. And everybody I saw leaving, I said, hey, there's fireworks. And they're like, yeah, it is. Kids are smoked. So I get it. So
I get
some
it.
ideas for the future.
I get it,
Yep.
yeah.
Smoked, I never heard that
So
term.
I'm gonna make a motion to remove that one too, since we're
Yep.
done. So I'll make a motion to remove letter G, Marlborough Community Pride Day Review.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. H is cannabis. Opt in or opt out? I thought I put that on just to start the dialogue. We have to December to decide. I guess the way it goes is if you don't opt in or out, you're in.
Yep.
Also,
And
no
then,
action.
then you have an option to opt out.
Anytime you want.
Yeah.
So I just want to start on that. Chief,
One thing I want to say is once you opt out, you opt out.
you opt out.
They'll give you
You
back.
can only opt in or do nothing and opt in
Right,
You're up.
by December 31st. But once you're out, you're out.
right.
I
You
think
could
you-
actually opt out right now and then opt in.
No, as of December 31st, there's no more opting in.
Okay, that's
So
it's done?
you opt in now and decide to opt out next year, you can never opt back in.
I'm not sure about that, Jerry. You
yeah.
sure?
It's in here.
It's
I
in
thi-
here,
I
but,
thought you could rescind after you're saying your
yeah,
opt
I
out.
think it's the time frame that you could rescind to opt back in.
He's saying before December 31st, you can opt back in if you opt out now.
Right, but once December 31st,
Right.
21 passes, there's no more opting back in.
I don't
Yes,
think,
but
I think
Jerry,
that
let me
was
ask you a
pretty
question.
clear in here.
If we opt in, we can always opt out
Correct.
and never
Once
get,
you
and
opt
never
out,
get
you're
back in.
Right.
That's what I
Yeah.
understand the reading. And we can look in this little
Yeah, well, yeah,
nice manual that confuses the hell out of you.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
very
Oh my
poorly
God.
written.
So,
It's not a good art.
here's my opinion on this. If we think about where we live, the north is going to opt in. The south is definitely going to opt in because they already have a medical marijuana distributor
Right on the
on North Plank Road.
Yeah.
So we're in the middle. So we're going to get stuck with the cross traffic.
Yeah.
We're going to be dealing with the issues anyway. So why not opt in and collect 25% of the
Yeah.
4%
Right.
or however that number
Yeah,
worked out?
that was a little
I don't know what
confusing.
that's gonna mean, because that's based on sales within this town. I don't know if we're gonna have one dispensary or 100 dispensaries. I have no idea. That's all up to them, and we have no control over that.
Right.
What we do have control over is, although they are allowing the dispensaries, we can set up, if I understand this right, I guess zoning regulations.
Yeah, we can
that
regulate it.
further restrict hours of operation.
Right.
Right.
And this, and that. But the only thing we have control over is the distributors and on-site consumption.
Right. Right.
So, and what I wasn't clear about this is, can any of our local alcohol establishments also sell and consume on-site cannabis?
I would say the SLA probably would not allow that.
It doesn't say specifically alcohol,
Well,
it
this
says
is-
with other licenses, so it's
Yeah.
not clear, because I don't think they know yet.
Yeah, because they have their own board, so they're going to be
Correct.
their own SLA.
And this is gonna be part of the SLA.
Yeah.
Right. So we don't have to
There's
opt.
lots of rules that haven't been established yet,
Right.
but are alluded to in here. So, and you can't find any information on anywhere, because I Googled the heck out of everything,
Yeah.
and there was very little I could find.
I don't know how you
Because
guys.
nothing's been established yet.
Yeah, I don't
Right.
know how you guys feel about it. I mean, I read it and I reread it. I'm not scared of it at all. I think it's going to be regulated by the state. I think, like Jerry said, we're going to be caught in the middle. And B, people have been consuming marijuana for they've been complaining about this really from like the 60s. And now they're actually starting to regulate it. I'm not afraid of it. I see it as a revenue. I don't see it being a dingy business. I see it.
We're gonna
the
we're-
place down there, what's that called? Cureleaf or something?
Purely.
Really?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I pulled over to do a phone call. I was coming out of Alexis Diner, I had a work meeting, my phone rang. I said, well, let me just pull over. So I'm like, still in, I think, Alexis's parking lot.
Right.
I got this dude knocking on my window telling me to beat it. It was a security guard.
Yeah.
Like there was like, he was armed.
Right.
He wasn't a mall cop.
It's going to be regulated.
It's very, very regulated.
I'm not afraid of it at all.
Yeah, it
So
doesn't scare me.
Well,
I
we're-
like the
we're-
revenue part. I think everything is probably like the chief says. I'm talking to my fellow associates from Plattekill and Highland, and I think they're going to opt in. So, you know,
We don't really have to opt in, right?
Yeah,
If we don't do anything, we
Just
don't do
don't do
anything,
anything,
right?
you don't do anything, you're opt in.
I just
Sorry.
think, yeah, I'm not afraid of it either. I think we're probably gonna be growing it here in the town, so legally.
We
Yeah,
almost
I
were
think.
a few years back,
Well, I
remember?
think,
we've
well,
been
we're already growing
We've been growing
the
this town
non.
for many, many years, sir.
No, I think,
Allegedly.
you know, I'm no expert, but I know some people are interested in commercially growing it, so.
So does the rest of the board, how they feel about it?
I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it.
Not really. I mean, there's a lot to know.
I'm fine.
So, okay, so we're all good with that. We'll continue the dialogue, you know.
Maybe
Yeah, we should ask,
Maybe ask the planning board, like Jerry said, we do have the ability to create the zoning for it. Maybe we could have them start doing some research to say, hey, you know, where this has been legalized before, what are these other zoning, how have they changed it? What have they prevented?
It's probably on the 9W corridor.
Can't be next to school or
Yeah.
shared distance, kind of those types of restrictions like we have with adult establishments and things
Right.
like that, right?
Those restrictions are already in place.
Those are in
Yeah.
place, so.
It
They're
can't be
that-
within, I
500
think it's
feet.
200 feet of a church and 500 feet of a school
School.
or
Right.
school property. And there's
Those are
also
in those rules.
regulations you can create for municipality-owned property, parks and so forth.
And then
Which-
probably what zones they can be in.
It's good to have this conversation now. We don't want to be caught behind the 8 ball like we were with the solar panel thing that we had to play catch-up. So if we kind of start spitballing this now and have something together for our first applicants, because I think they're lined up, in
Right.
my opinion.
I had one individual call me up about a dispensary in Marlborough.
Well, I told Al before, I know when I first got on the board, we were approached by a grower that did a large grow facility. They're now located in Orange County, but they said, would the town be open to even having a conversation about this? And we said, yeah, we'll talk.
So
These
we-
regulations will regulate the grower, the dispensary, the processing, the cultivation, or the picking, whatever you call that, harvesting. There's licenses that they have to get for each one of those.
Right.
Not that they have what those regulations might be, but there's going to be a license for everything.
It's gonna be
So,
regulated.
yeah, I think they're going to be heavily involved in it. I really think they're going to have a strong side on monitoring the sale of it, because that's where the state is going to make their money. And they want the revenue, right. So there's going to be hefty consequences for those that don't follow. Out of this whole book, the only negative thing that I found is New York State allows 5 pounds
Yeah,
as
Your
a home,
personal
in your home, where
your home.
every other state that they reference is ounces.
Ounces, yeah. Also, look on the growing things. Wasn't New York State trying to tax on the, I closed it electronically. Can I see that out? They were trying to tax on what you grow, which is, if I read that right, I find that.
Well, I'm sure they're gonna do that.
Enforceable.
We're gonna try to tax everywhere they can.
yeah.
It was on a chart.
So I like Alan's suggestion of letting our planning board, asking their opinion on this, and we should talk it up in the community as best we can, too.
Yeah, so THC content tax,
Yeah.
0.5, it's gonna be at 5 cents per mg for flowers, 0.8 cents per mg for concentrates, and 3 cents per mg for edibles. So New York's gonna be all over this.
And obviously, New York is anticipating a huge edible market, because the
That's
tax
the
on the
highest one.
edible markets is
Yeah.
way higher than all the rest, so.
I mean, the only thing I would say about it is, you're right, this has to go to the planning board, and we gotta have some really good zoning requirements for this, because I don't think you could just do it anywhere in the
No, I don't think
residential
so either.
zones.
No.
You know, people are gonna go crazy if that's
No,
the
it'd have to
case.
be a commercial, yeah.
So there's a lot of work to be done on that end of it, and I think Jerry's right. Get ahead of it is better than being behind the eight
That's
balls.
why I brought it up.
You don't think it should be a home occupation, right?
What's that?
Probably shouldn't be a home occupation.
It can't be.
I know it can't be.
Oh, I can?
Yeah, you know, there's lots of ways you can go with it. I'm sure the problem that I foresee the planning board having is there aren't a lot of, they reference a lot of regulations that still need to be created.
Right.
They've made no office management, no enforcement office yet. They've picked nobody as far as I know. And it needs to be done. I think it referenced 6 months after the law went into effect. Well, this went into effect in March, April, June, something like that.
But
So it's
it
coming.
is a commercial business operation, so the planning board handles those things. It's just, do we want to layer things on top of that?
You can further
Hours of
restrict.
operation would be one of them, I would think, but.
Yeah, I would imagine you'd want to consider security, site security, fencing, things like that. I mean,
I think
don't
if we look at our codes and see what
Sure.
is actually in each district, and if it isn't in it, maybe we could tweak it, and we could talk to the building department about it.
Just out of curiosity, can you call down to town of Newburgh and say, has there been a lot of issues with that?
I can, yeah, that's
Just
not
to
an
say
issue.
anything, what's your call volume?
That's a medical dispensary.
That's a
Yeah,
medical.
right.
right.
It's medical.
Which would be licensed different if there was one of those in Marlborough. Although you can have a medical dispensary and still a regular
the same place.
consumer dispensary together.
Yep.
There's a special license for that
Yeah.
too.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
Purely's gonna
Right.
turn into that. So
Right.
absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
but I mean, like, they had their own security. The guy was not messing around with me.
Right. I think, and the line's at purely for ridiculous. And that's now, so.
But they're all chill.
But they're all chill, right? There's no problems. But, yeah, I've heard stories out in other states, lines, 3 hours wait to get into the dispensaries. That made it legal. Whether, because it was relatively new, I don't know. Everything's a
blind
fad,
demand.
right?
I think that's probably the initial would happen, and then we were just traveling through Massachusetts, and we see the billboards, and then we see the dispensaries, and there's no lines, there's no nothing.
Yeah,
Exactly.
That's just a supply and demand. Probably
Yeah.
when it first comes out, there's gonna be one dispensary, and then there'll be 10, and then there'll be no lines.
I'm trying to figure out a way,
Capitalism.
Yeah,
I'm trying to figure out a way how to get, like, vending machines. You know, you got Coke, Pepsi, Sprite,
we don't,
Happy Grow, this, that.
you don't see Bud Light.
Okay,
floor.
on that, let's
Bud
continue.
Light vending machines for a reason.
So I get a good feeling that we don't need to do anything at this moment, but we have to educate ourselves on the whole process. Thank you very much. Thanks, Chief. Appreciate it. Board. Howard, we have this down for you, Latin Town Road activity.
Yes, so what this references is I live on Latin Town Road, very busy road, probably more sensitive than a lot of people, but over the last week and a half, I would say, there's been a tremendous amount of towing activity on Latin Town Road, tow trucks towing 2 or 3 cars at a time to the what I refer to as Transalito's Junkyard. I'm not sure what the current name of it is, but right on Latin Town Road. Really at its peak, I think in one day, hundreds of tow trucks went by my house all day long until 10, 11 o'clock at night. I spoke to Jerry about this in length. I also spoke to Tom Corcoran, our code enforcement officer. Certainly what they're doing is they're legally able to do this. This all came about because of all the cars that were flooded out in Hurricane Ida. So, it's not a constant thing, but I just think that we ought to, hundreds and hundreds of cars went into that facility in the last week or so. Apparently, they have a large enough space to accommodate those cars. So I just don't think we should be letting a business like that operate pretty much as they wish any time of the day or night on a very busy road through a residential district. And so I just wanted to bring it to your guys' attention. I have not heard a lot of complaints. I don't think Jerry's heard a lot of complaints. I've heard a couple other people have spoken to me about it. You know, so what I'm thinking is maybe we ought to look into restricting hours of operation. Really, when at least 10 or 11 cars went by in a 5-minute period past my house, maybe 10 o'clock at night, a couple of nights ago. So that, to me, is out of the bounds of how a responsible business should be operating in our town. Plus the fact that they're bringing hundreds and hundreds of cars from certainly out of our town into our town. I don't think we want to be known as the junkyard capital of the world here. I'm not suggesting we are, but it's just something that needs to be looked at. I know we've had this problem. I think it was probably in Hurricane Sandy, and I don't know what the outcome of that was, but I'm just throwing it out there for discussion so that, and if anybody in the audience or anybody that sees this video was concerned about it, I certainly was concerned about it. And I did speak to Tom, and I did speak to Jerry about it, and I tried calling Copart, but I got a number in Florida, and that was as far as I got, so.
That is Copart owns that piece of property?
Yeah, they're leasing it.
I think
No,
they
he
don't
doesn't
own
own
it.
the
No.
piece
Yeah,
of
they
property.
were leasing the one behind Young's for a long time too, but they're not there anymore.
Right.
Right.
No, this
They're
owner.
back
this-
again? Okay.
Yeah, this is a private owner. Is there any emergency, like, when something like this happens with floods and stuff? Is there anything that allows the individual to do this? I mean,
It's a
like,
junkyard permit.
The
Al.
There's
particular,
only a couple of, we only have a
It's-
few left.
Yeah,
the
there's
particular individual on Latin Town Road is a legal junkyard.
oh, yeah, I know that.
Right.
I think
You and I couldn't do it in our residential,
no,
even
no,
our
I
commercial
understand
property.
that. I understand that's a legal junkyard, and probably that's,
I'm not aware of any executive orders or emergency documentation that would allow them to do anything different. The only, in reference to that, the only problem I see, and Howard and I had this conversation, I would assume that junkyard went through its process, whenever it went through its process, and it was approved with little or no restrictions.
Probably before
So the
zoning.
concern I have, and this is me playing devil's advocate, and I'm not extremely educated on it, but if he went through his process and we allowed him to do A, B, and C, and he agreed and paid all his fines and paid his or fees for permits or whatever, and we now, at the bottom of the ninth, decide we don't like the way he's playing football and we're going to change the rules, is that fair?
I think it is fair if it becomes, you know, sort of, it really was an onslaught to the people on Latin Town Road. There were really, Jerry, hundreds of tow trucks.
I understand.
That
but
is.
in your own words, did you just not say there were only a few
Few what?
complaints?
That
to
I
you?
heard, that I'm aware
Right.
of, yeah, yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
and again, I don't, I'm not saying I'm not for or against it. I'm just playing devil's advocate here because we had this great debate and I enjoyed it. And that's just me, Jerry, who's a taxpayer, not the chief of police, saying those things. And I'm playing devil's advocate.
I would have appreciated.
And I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, if whoever, the companies that are involved in this would have notified Al and said, Al, we've got this national East Coast crisis and we're trying to help out and we're going to have this bunch of cars coming in for the next 2 weeks. Can you alert the citizenry so we know what the heck's going on?
We had the same
And these trucks were not going slowly.
The only other thought process I just had, if Copart's leasing that property, when Copart and Riverview, was it Riverview?
Yeah.
Went through their site plan, their hours of operation was set. So if they're leasing other property as Copart, does that fall under that
I think it
site plan?
falls underneath the zone of the property.
Does it?
But I
That's-
think,
It's the owner who's
the
collecting
other
the money.
one was not a junkyard.
yeah,
Copart is not a junkyard.
No.
no.
No, Copart is a junkyard probably, but I'm saying where they store those from Sandy's, that property was not a junk, that was privately owned, wasn't a junkyard.
You
So-
mean last time?
Yeah.
No,
so
I
they
mean,
were out of compliance.
Copart and Riverview is a time-restricted business in town. On their site review, when they did it, whenever they did it, there's hours of operations for them, specific.
Yes.
Whereas anybody else, they can operate whenever
but
they want to operate.
Well,
So my question is, do their leased or rented properties fall under those rules that were approved for that
No, it's a
location.
different site plan.
That's a good thought. We ought to
Guys,
check that
I
out.
think-
No?
I think,
I don't know.
guys, Howard, I know it probably is uncomfortable, but you gotta remember this, the storm happened, the cars need to be picked up, that property's only so big, so it's gonna fill up. They're just filling the pipe right now.
I understand
I
that,
don't- I
Alan,
know
but
it's
when
not
they're,
gonna be
if,
okay.
I
He just
guarantee
doesn't
you,
like the
I
cars.
I
guarantee
wouldn't have the
you,
cars going by either.
any one of you guys, if you'd seen the amount of traffic that went by your house, you would have felt this exact
I
same
wouldn't.
way.
I'm not saying I wouldn't,
Howard,
Howard,
we used
I'm
to
not.
get, we used to get phone calls from everybody on Milton Turnpike. When Sandy came and they put the stuff in the back of there. They called the dealership every day.
Right.
Complaining about it.
Right.
And there's nothing he could do about it. I mean,
Well, my suggestion is maybe there is something we can do
well,
about
once,
it. So
I'll tell you
Go up
one
there
thing,
and
Howard,
talk
once
to
they
the guy
filled
who's
it
running
up,
it and say, hey, can
we
you
didn't
close
see
the heat?
anybody there for
So-
I think, you know, the level of activity has subsided quite a bit, and trucks go by, and they don't go by slower, and there's a lot
I
less
just
of them,
think it's
fewer of
also
them.
a slippery slope when we're gonna start doing that, because on the weekends for the next month and 2 months is gonna be
Yeah,
like
Jerry and I
out
had
of
that.
control, like more than you could ever imagine. And we love it, right? Because it's the tourists that are coming in and they're.
But
they're-
not with flashing lights and tow trucks
I understand that, but
at
that's
10
a
o'clock,
short period of time, and I would be.
10 o'clock at
like
night, you know, it's.
And maybe there is a time limit we can put on it.
Right.
But just understand, we do have other businesses
If you
that
have-
do similar things on the same road.
They're kinda
And we
different,
get
but-
millions of complaints about that too.
But they're not junkyards, and they're kind of the core of what we do here in the town.
I
thank
get
you.
what
So,
you're saying.
Thank goodness we
could
have a
I-
moratorium on junkies.
So could I just say, let's look at what exactly, when somebody, the individual that has a junkyard is probably farted in, see if there's any regulations as far as time and stuff like that, which they're not, adopting to, or they're not.
There it is.
There it is. Now, that was owned by Transalito, but somebody else bought that, correct?
Yes.
They live in the front house, or they don't even live there?
Yeah, I
I
don't
don't
know.
think they live on the property, no.
Okay.
But,
Because that was split, the apartments
Yes.
on one side.
yeah.
So
So-
the junkyard goes with the rental apartments.
Yeah.
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 Well, it's at the old airport.
So,
Again,
I
rental
think-
apartments, junkyard, lots of activity, not,
I, I think,
No, I
No,
don't think
there's
they
no
have a
fence
fence
around.
around.
no. Of course, a junkyard does describe it in the code that you have to have a fence around a junkyard. That doesn't have a fence. So I would just suggest, let's look at the junkyard,
I don't know how they were.
the rules for them. They must have some kind of rules,
Ask Tommy, he'll know.
and see
Right.
what happens.
I
Because
did have
it's
some
pretty
general
vague
conversation
with our
with
code.
Tommy, and basically he told me that he can pretty much do everything he's doing up there. But for him to digest it, I suggest he does it, because that's what he does, and
I
he
mean,
can
I'm
better
surprised
inform
that
you.
they're not allowed to have that.
So our code says basically a maximum site area shall be 5 acres, so there's more. The site shall be screened from adjacent use by planting acceptable to the planning board. But it says also, C, such use shall comply with the requirements of 136 of the general municipal law as it may be amended. So I don't know what 136 of the general municipal law, so maybe we'll just look into that and start.
That's all regulations regarding junkyards, and all of that may pertain to somebody that wants to open a new junkyard, maybe not restricted to people that already have approved junkyards, so I don't know.
I know we're not allowed to have more junkyards in town. No,
When they got
Six
approved
total, six
originally
total in the
back
town.
the day, was
Yeah.
there a site plan approval with a time on it?
sure.
I would assume.
Yeah.
But if it was pre-zoning, it's probably gonna be back in.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
probably Transalita was pre-zoned.
That was pre-zoned.
I mean, Young's Motors is
Cole
pre-zoned.
Park, they
Oh,
have
Young's
to have a
Motors
site
definitely
plan.
pre-zoned.
So it's just grandfathered into the land use.
Young's
Possibly.
Motors was definitely 1920 something.
I
mean, we
think the
could
only
look
way you
back.
can get rid of a junkyard is if they don't renew their junkyard license, then you can never get
Then
another
you
one,
can never
right?
get another.
That's the only way
I'm
we
not
do away with it.
suggesting we get rid of anything, I'm just suggesting we
No, I was just,
have some way to tone things down a little bit, and so,
Let's look into the regs a little
okay,
closer and see what happens.
okay, all right, fine, thank you.
Just not to belabor this, Howard, so have you been seeing the trucks, as many trucks as you have seen?
No, the number has calmed down, and,
it goes along
they
with,
slowed down too. I think Tommy did call him, and,
conversation
he had a
with the
conversation
gentleman
with
would
him.
probably pay dividends as well.
yeah.
Okay.
I hear he's a really nice guy.
I know that Young's got $5,000 a month for that junk, and that's a small junkyard compared to what you got up
It's
there.
coming back.
Yeah.
I think it's there already.
So, moving right along. So we added 2 items, and the first item that I'd like to discuss is the DEC thing about the tires at the landfill. I think the large tires, Larry got $15 to take it down the road here. Talking to John, I think John is waiting for a rainy day so he could get a loader up there and load them up. I think there would be 65, right, Scott?
Yep.
Howard?
He's
So
gonna
that'd
do it
be
this week.
$975. We got 1,000 left in the budget, so we could take care of that. And I think the discussion is, like you said, we have 70 in our new budget, 7,200, something like that,
7,500 for
Seven.
3 loads.
for 3 loads, and actually need 6 loads. But I think if they see us doing something, I think they'll maybe ease off a little bit.
A lot
What
better
are they,
than the
did
first
they randomly just pop in there and be like, hey, you guys got any tires?
Well,
We don't see
There's a
DEC
big
ever,
pile.
I don't know what.
That's what I'm saying, like, when I got the email, I was like, wait a minute, like, were they just like, hey, we're just wondering if you have tires?
No, I don't know how that came
Yeah, I
about.
don't know
But
how it
But
came
I'm
about,
surprised they
but
wrote the ticket knowing that we
we ought to
being
just take this
proactive.
opportunity, just clear them out,
we have
guys.
to
Just
address
get rid
it.
of them.
Right.
We have to have
Yeah,
at
we
least
have to get
something
rid-
to them by November 1st, or we're gonna get fined.
Right.
And the fine's probably gonna be more than what's gonna cost to remove the tires.
Yeah.
We've been talking about
Exactly.
it for
Since-
a long time. I mean,
And
other
we've been-
boards have kicked it down the road.
2015.
We did something.
2015.
Slowly, now we need to speed it up.
So I guess when I was sent that out today, I was like, I guess we should respond that this is our plan, that we're starting this week. We had put money in the budget to do 3 loads, and the next year we're gonna do 3 more loads, and then we should be cleaned up within 2 years. Is that sufficient to them as a plan? If they say, no, we want it cleaned up by the end of this year, well, then we'll have to address that, right?
I'll call
And you can
DEC
show
up
them that we
tomorrow.
have taken tires out already.
But I just don't wanna see us get a fine, and then,
So for my homework tomorrow, I'll call DEC up and tell them what we plan. If they need something on my letterhead, I'll address it that way, see what they say.
Al,
That's a plan.
I suggest you might call Larry, because I spoke to him today. I think he was going to try to contact the DEC himself, so.
I'll call Larry also.
Larry, yes. And I personally would like us to bite the bullet and just do the whole thing and get it behind us.
I
So,
agree. Let's just
if
get
it's another 7,500, so we have to up it to 15,000.
Let's see what they say. Let's see what they say. And if we have to bite the bullet, we'll bite the bullet. If he says, no deal, you got to get rid of all the tires, we'll have to get rid of all the tires. We'll find the money.
We could use them for fender piles down at the Milton Pier.
the only other thing Larry did say too is, just that since we're on the transfer station, is there's a bunch of trees that are really leaning over the wires, they're really bad. So, he's trying to get estimates, so. but
Okay,
they want
John,
They want a
to look
package.
at it.
John did look at it, he ain't touching it.
He ain't touching it
He ain't
because of the
touching
wires.
anything that's next to a wire.
Tell 'em
So
it's
I already had John up there. If anybody's interested, I'm meeting Larry on Wednesday at 10 o'clock up there, and he's gonna mark the trees. So,
Okay.
but you could see it, I was up there on Sunday, they are hanging, and the one that's coming, the wire that's going from our storage over to his, they're like totally engulfed with the trees right now.
Okay.
So I mean, he is worried, which is a good thing. And
Yeah, Larry does a
he's
great
being
He does a
proactive.
great job.
He's being proactive, which is good, so.
He takes a pride in it.
Okay, so the plan is we'll spend the $975, get rid of the truck tires, and then I'll call DECs, tell them our plan, that next year we budgeted for a certain amount of money for 3 loads, and then the following year, another 3 loads to get rid of the tires. If he doesn't say go or no go, I'll do it in an email to
Just,
him.
Al, also let them know that we've been proactively getting rid of tires when we can.
Yeah, I mean, one of the problems with COVID was we couldn't get the inmates to help us to, get him onto the trailer. I mean, John and his men are willing to help us get the tires to put them into the trailers, but they don't have the manpower to help us put them into. So moving along, the IT suggestion from our IT guy is a robust corporate Wi-Fi solution for the town of Marlborough. I think it would cost around $750. So I like to spend that money. Actually, we don't have, the budget is over on the IT side, so we have the reserve side. So at the next meeting, we'll probably do a resolution, take it from the reserve and put it into the budget. But I just want to, I want to get this thing going because you saw what happened with the Amazon modem. It just doesn't work in this. So I like to see him do it this Friday and put that in because he has the items that are required to do it. So I'd like to make a motion that we move forward and spend the $750 and get
Yeah.
that done Friday.
I'll second that motion. It's gonna be a new modem system which we could expand off of, so it's a multi-use one where you could like link that to another one, to another one, to another one, so they could be all interconnected throughout the building.
I have the information here. I'll give it to you. So this
So
way
the
you know
first
what we're
one will
talking
be
about.
$750, and then I think additional ones are a couple $100 for the additional,
Yeah.
if we want.
The system he's basing that off is similar to the system we purchased for the police department, only my system's a little smaller. The ProLine, Ubiquiti ProLine cloud adapter, the one he's specing for you handles 50 access points. Those are those blue discs you see at the stores and stuff like that, that's what we'll have here. He's planning on putting that controller in with 2 discs in here and giving us the ability to run discs anywhere else we want throughout the building.
Right.
For single point access.
Right.
My system is exactly the same, only it's smaller because of a much smaller area we were looking to do, so it was a little cheaper. But so far, excellent, not an issue and problem.
Good.
I think you'll be
That's what
happy.
we want. Exactly. So, thank you, board, for that. Moving forward with correspondence. I have the correspondence that we're going to have a resolution on from Bernier and Larios, dear Supervisor Lanzetta and Town Board, on Wednesday, September 22nd, 2002. 7 bids were received for the above referenced contract. We have reviewed these bids and recommend the Town Board award the contract to the low bidder, Whitcomb, that's Wittcon, of Thompson Ridge, New York, with a total amount bid at $67,000. I'm enclosing 3 copies of the notice of award for Inc. In the amount of $67,000. Please sign and date all copies where indicated and returned to our offices. Upon our receipt of these documents, we will notify Whitcomb to obtain their bonds and insurance and set a date for contract signing. Also enclosed, please find a copy of bid tabulation. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact our office, and that's Bernier and Larios. So I know the gentleman that usually asks for all the bids is not here, but I just want to let everybody know what happened. So the lowest bidder was Whitcomb at $67,000. The next bidder was $82,800. The next bidder was $91,634. The next bidder was $98,800. The next bidder was $104,990. The next bidder was $134,500, and finally, the last bidder was $167,643. The board had concerns about the capability of the Whitcomb, and Dennis Larios has worked with them, and he suggested to the board that we should go with them with the lowest bidder at $67,000. That was the information that. For correspondence, I have the notice of award. And so we're going to move, when we go to the resolution, I need a motion for the supervisor to sign that so we could get this thing going, the acceptance of the bid, notice of award.
I'll make that motion.
Okay. You want to hear the resolution first, Howard, or you want to just make a motion?
I thought you wanted a motion for your signature.
Yeah, motion to the signature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, yeah, that's why I hold off on
Okay.
that. Public comment. Mary Beth, do you have a public comment? Come on up to the microphone, please. State your name.
It's over here. No. Over here. Right here.
Right
Right
here.
up front.
there. I don't think you're on camera, though.
No.
Right.
Put you to
Well,
the
people
side.
will be able to hear me. My name's Mary Beth King. I am a town resident of Milton on Sands Avenue. And my comment is in regards to the pier and the landing. And I understand the focus on customizing the pier for the different vessels that may be engaged with and contracted with. What I've heard less about that I think is of concern as well is the after use. So how many people are debarking from these boats? The one boat looks like it could hold maybe 200 people, and there is egress issues down there. It's a very small road with blinding curves, and so I would just ask, in addition to looking at the piers and the pilings, winter is coming, that consideration, more global look be made at the after use of what happens when people disembark. I'm of the understanding that they have offered to transport people that could become fraught and very fractious, and who gets to, where do they go and how does that work? And then you're going to have, I could anticipate people from different farms saying, well, we're going to get a bus too. And so I think that this could become, once you get people off the bus, I haven't heard, and I'm sure you do have a plan, but I would encourage you to take a look at that now before proceeding further, and have a solid idea of how you're going to handle that. I know there's the walkway that will be planned. It's uphill. It doesn't take into consideration people with mobility issues. And I just, I live right there. So I live it every day. I no longer even go on the Dead Man's Curve. I've been almost zapped twice. So now I go all the way down to Shanghai or to church because it's not safe. And so I think if you add a lot of bus traffic in, taking them to people to different farms, I think that portion of the plan needs to have further development before proceeding. And the winter months are coming and you have the time to do it. I would also encourage, number 2 is a stronger infrastructure as to who will be accountable for this, and this is, and more clarity about these different companies and what they're offering, and there should be some payback for if they are awarded the contract, however that works, there should be some compensation back to the town. So I'm not, I'm sort of coming into the middle of this. I love it. I love it down there. But if that one boat is very large, and I can see there, especially on weekends, I could see that. I go down there 3 or 4 times a day, and I would not even probably be able to find a place to park. So in what Alan's saying is, it's still for the people. It also should support the agritourism, but I think it's time to have a more robust plan for the pier as well as the after use.
Well,
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Mickey?
There is our video man. We need a remote on that.
Good evening, gentlemen. Vicki Simonovsky, Marlborough, New York. I just wanted to get a little bit of a clarification on who we actually are giving all of our thanks to for the Community Pride Day. I know Mr. Corcoran advertised it early on at one of the board meetings that the Lions Club, that Steve Jennison of the Lions Club was developing it, and that the police department was going to be helping. But I'm just wondering, did it turn out to be a Marlborough town-sponsored event only?
It was,
Go Go ahead.
Well, it's Marlborough Town, Police, Lions, the fire companies, the 2 fire companies. The chief organized where there was a diver there. We couldn't get the state troopers there, but we got everybody else there. We got a helicopter. So it was a collaborative effort. We had meetings, but basically the chairman was Steve Jennison from the Lions Club. And so
But the Lions Club, as I understand it, was not directly involved.
they weren't.
They were. They paid for the band.
They paid for the band.
So the Lions Club donated?
Yes.
Because I'm a
I'll tell
member
you
of the...
who did it right here. Thomas O. Miller donated, Milton and Marlborough Lions Club, Wallkill Savings Bank, Sawyer Savings Bank, Marlborough Fire Department, Milton Fire Department, Marlborough PBA, Local 17, Russo Propane, Russ Walden, Hepner, Marticella, LLP, Milton Hardware, and Shamrock Shows, and Hannaford's all donated towards this.
And we give them all our deepest thanks and appreciation for that. Because
And of course, the town of Marlborough.
well, so
The
that,
town of Marlborough paid for the fireworks. We're hoping to get some of that restored back to the town because of all the donations. The donations are going to the town of Marlborough. The overflow from the PBA and stuff like that. Just talked to the Sergeant Pascal about that. So, and I'm sure Mr. Corcoran, Councilman Corcoran also talked to him.
so just so I'm understanding, so the town of Marlborough actually sponsored the event through the cooperation of all of these other people, and it was basically the PBA that was overseeing all of the logistics. So if people wanted to still donate to help fund the fireworks, they
PBA.
should make their donations to the Marlborough PBA
Yes.
and mail it to,
P.O. Box 305, 21 Milton Turnpike, Milton, New York, 12547. And it's the
Marlborough Town PBA.
thank you very much for that clarification. I appreciate it. And thank you very much. I know that there was a huge police presence there, as well as the highway department was there. Did those gentlemen-
Everybody was there. John Alonji was there with his trucks. The police department was there. There's a whole bunch of variety of all people from the community. It was Community
DEC
Day.
was there, CSA.
The actual thing was to award 4 restaurants that were involved with the Project Resilience. Pat Ryan, the executive, was there. He handed out the awards. So everything went very smoothly. So it was a collaboration of the town and all these different organizations. I couldn't tell you how happy I was that everything just went perfectly.
Well, I'm very glad about that as well. The weather was perfect.
Yeah.
I would have one suggestion for next year's PBA. I'm assuming that there's money in the budget every year for this
There's
Community Pride
ceremony
Day?
money, but we came up with the money for the fireworks because of the donations.
Okay. So, because of its proximity to the Bounty Festival, which is this coming weekend, and the Bounty Festival has always traditionally been in October, within the first 2 weekends. Perhaps next year's Pride Day or Community Day could be scheduled at another time so there's not competition with another big event that brings a lot of good things to all of our residents. Perhaps July, around 4th of July, or to celebrate the end of summer camp. That might be a really good week to have another summer event for our citizens. So I thank you all very much for all of that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I want to see Howard.
Public,
Keep going, Jerry.
okay. No one wants to get going. Let's get going here. Let's do the resolutions. Resolution 71, to hold a public hearing on the 2022 preliminary budget. Supervisor Lanzetta proposes the following. Be it resolved that, consistent with Town Law Section 108, a public hearing on the preliminary budget will be held on October the 12th, 2021 at 7 p.m. and moves for its adoption.
Councilman Corcoran?
Yes.
Councilman Molinelli,
Yes.
Councilman Koenig,
Yes.
Councilman Baker,
Yes.
Supervisor Lanzetta.
Yes, thank you. The Resolution 72 to award the dechlorination bid for the Milton wastewater treatment plant. Supervisor Lanzetta proposes the following. Whereas the New York SDEC has mandated certain improvements to be made at the Milton wastewater treatment facility, Milton Sewer District in the Hamlet of Milton, and whereas the plans and specifications of the improvements have been prepared by Bernier and Larios, PC, professional engineers of Kingston, New York, and whereas said plans and specifications have been approved by the New York State DEC Region 3 office, and whereas the project was publicized, 7 bids were received, September the 22nd, 2021, publicly bid, whereas the lowest responsible bidder is Wickcon, Inc., of Thomas Ridge, New York, with a low bid of $67,000, and a recommendation award has been made by the project engineers. Therefore, it be resolved that the town of Marlborough awards the contract to Wickcon, Inc. of Thomas Ridge, New York, in the amount of $67,000, and authorize the supervisor to enter into a contract with Wickcon, Inc. for this work at the Milton Wastewater Treatment Facility by order of the Town Board, Town of Marlborough, this 27th day of September 2021, and moves for its adoption.
Councilman Corcoran,
Yes.
Councilman Molinelli,
Yes.
Councilman Koenig,
Yes.
Councilman Baker,
Yes.
Supervisor Lanzetta.
Yes, thank you. Resolution 73. You want to read this, Howard? You were presenting it.
Yes, so just a preamble, this is an environmental assessment form that we have to submit with a Greenway grant that we want to pursue to do some remediation of the washout that it's occurring on the Marlborough Nature Trail in the hamlet of Marlborough. And the Greenway grant application requires an EAF. So I spoke to our engineer, Pat Hines, who filled out the environmental assessment form. He said, all you need to do is declare yourself as lead agency and describe this as a negative declaration. There's no environmental impact. In fact, we're trying to improve things. So anyway, what the hell is this? The resolution. Whereas the Milton Trail Committee is applying for a Greenway grant to make improvements in the Marlborough Nature Trail to mitigate, to mitigate ongoing trail erosion. And whereas the grant application requires an EAF be submitted along with the grant application, and whereas the EAF has been updated by Pat Hines, Town of Marlborough Planning Board Engineer, now therefore be it resolved that the Town of Marlborough shall be lead agency in review of this document and declares that there are no negative environmental impacts that will result from planned improvements to the Marlborough Nature Trail, and moves for its adoption.
Councilman Corcoran,
Yes.
Councilman Molinelli,
Yes.
Councilman Koenig,
Yes.
Councilman Baker,
Yes.
Supervisor Lanzetta.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Howard.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. Well, that was a good meeting. I really appreciate that. So right now, a little adjournment. Item 13, Alan.
Adjournment.
Take it away, babe.
Yeah, I'd like to ask for a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Thank you.
Boom.